Hey friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg. This guy, we've already talked for hours, it seems. My guest today is Yale from Luwaka Bop Records. But
We
I
don't
have
actually say records.
oh, to say Luwaka Bop?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start over.
Because, it could be all kinds of other media. No, you can leave that in. I don't.
No.
Yeah.
I want to at least have a clean beginning.
Okay.
Hey friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the audiophiliac, and my guest today is Yale from Luwaka Bop. That's a great name.
David Byrne made that. He didn't make that up, but he adopted that for the label.
And it started a while ago, 1988.
Yep.
That's a long run.
David,
And I remember buying some of those really early ones, the Brazil music compilation.
Yeah, they did really well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so I got to ask you this really important question.
Yeah.
Are you an audiophile?
Yeah. I knew you were going to ask that, or I didn't know you were going to ask that, but I thought when you were coming over, I thought a lot about that. Am I an audiophile? I thought a lot about that word.
Because you have a lot of really cool stuff here.
And but I guess my issue with the word audiophile and the concept of audiophile is it thinks that there is such a thing as audio separate from music.
Okay, I've never heard it put quite that way before.
And I don't agree with that as an idea. So I start from I'm interested in music, and I love equipment. I'm a guy who likes equipment. I like vintage sports cars. I like stuff like that has a tactile feel, that has an emotional connection. And I like to have sound equipment that makes you feel something on an emotional level when you listen to a record. But it all starts with the music. So I have records that sound good, records that don't sound good. It's irrelevant because the music is what it is that I'm listening to, not the equipment.
Right.
So that worries me when people say I'm an audiophile, that they seem preoccupied with the equipment more than they are with the music.
That can be the case.
And that's why I don't just go, yes, I'm an audiophile. I love audio equipment.
It's guilty with an explanation.
Yeah.
But I understand, because most people I know that are audiophiles almost never say that they are. So it's a thing. It's a thing that audiophiles do. Mm-hmm. It's this balance between music and gear,
But there isn't a balance.
There is a balance.
There is not.
But sometimes it skews heavy towards the gear. Sometimes it skews heavy towards the music.
To me, it's just about the music. It's not about the gear. The gear, I like the gear, and I don't mind talking about the gear, and I think I get excited about the gear, and I have like a path and exploration that I go on to find different things that sound different, as we all do who like gear. But it's really just about music. So,
except that you don't need all this stuff that you have here in your apartment to listen to music. You don't need any of these things to listen to music.
But
I speaker and listen
I'm
to music.
trying to get to a point where I have an emotional connection to the music that I'm listening to, and the type of equipment that I have, hopefully, is going towards that goal.
Exactly.
Yes.
We're getting our next witness. I think we're on the same track now. But anyways, so you have been, or you are still considered a record producer?
Well, I produced record. I had a label before Luwaka Bop called Icon, and I produced all the records that were on Icon. And when I got to Luwaka Bop, I had to run a record label. Icon was me, and so I stopped going into the studio, because when you go into the studio, it used to take forever, and you lose perspective. Where the records that I liked the most, lots of times, were the least interesting records at the end of the day, because they were just a lot of fun to make, and then, but they actually weren't that as good a record as something that I might have had a lot less to do with. So I took myself out of that equation. And I get to do what I really like to do, is saying, hey, this could be better. I like that. That's my goal in life. This could be better.
And what would better be?
Well, whatever better is. Hopefully you have a suggestion.
Yeah, can you give me any examples?
Boy, that's really hard in the grand scheme. Well, okay. So we had this band, Gegita, and
I loved Gegita.
Yeah.
I was a big champion of Gegita.
Right. It's kind of a one-hit wonder group. And they were somebody who, they went to college with someone who worked as David Byrne's assistant. And she said, hey, my friend said this band, Gegita, which was what they called each other. It was two guys when they were kids, Greg and Tommy Gegita. And so I heard this cassette tape of their music. I thought, damn, David's not interested in this. I'm interested in this. This is incredible. And I sent it to David, and he said, oh, this is great. We should do this. So we did it. And they delivered this record, and we thought, this song is really great, but it's not as good sounding as it could be to make it on another level. So we hired somebody to remix that one song, basically, which was Whoever You Are, which became their big hit.
Right. Being a pop, where do you stand on auto-tune?
I love it.
Ah, great.
No problem with it whatsoever.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a sound.
It's a
I
sound.
don't really understand why people get all upset about that kind of stuff.
Because it
that
makes all singers sound so more similar
well,
than
then
different.
Listen to different singers. I mean, come on. They're just like, everything has its... Look, in the 80s, there was... Do you remember the snare drum sound?
Oh, yeah.
The giant, echoey snare drum sound? Every record had that. I mean, just like a sound of an era. That's fine. I mean, and in the 50s, they had huge, plate reverb on things.
Right, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but it's
the vocal, it's the emotion, the sound of the singer, and everything. No, I could be a singer.
If someone's a different age than you,
yes,
and they're younger,
and most people
then that's going to have an emotional impact for them.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
That might not have for you.
That's true. See,
that's a bugaboo of mine. That whole people going like, "Oh my God, music isn't what it used to be."
Well,
I hate that.
I'm not going that far, but I'm just
there are a lot of people who do that. It just seems ridiculous.
But you make vinyl, a lot of them releases, and you actually keep it in print. You don't just make like one run and then that's it.
I mean, we're trying to make records that are timeless.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
I mean, it's not music made for an era. We were talking about music made for an era, but we don't really do that. We're just making the music we like, and a lot of times our first records, the first Brazilian records, they still sell. People are still interested. New generations come along, and they go, "Wow, look at all this Brazilian music I didn't know anything about."
So, how many titles do you have in print?
100.
Whatever that means.
In print, I don't know.
Well,
we have 100. We have 100 titles. We've done in the 32 years. We have 100 titles.
Oh, so okay. Yeah. So that's only 3 a year. That averages out to be.
Not a lot. I mean, in the old days, we did 5 records a year. Nowadays, we do 2 or 3 a year. And we try to do a deep dive on the records. I mean, they're journeys for us too. Generally, we're doing records that I want to learn stuff about. So, we spend a lot of time like learning about the context of all about the music, all about the artist, so that when we start talking about it, there's something more there than the record. There's a whole area around the record that makes, hopefully, your enjoyment of the music more so, richer.
But no more CDs?
We make CDs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's even more impressive.
Yeah.
Because I keep hearing it's a dead format.
I mean, now vinyl was a dead format. Who knows anymore? Cassettes were a dead format,
But you started out, like your first jobs were in the record business, right?
I moved to New York. I worked in a record store. As I was mentioning, it was owned by the mafia.
Oh, that's great.
They had... we weren't allowed to answer the phone with the name of the store. It was called Soho Music Gallery, but we had to answer the phone. Now, if you remember, but phones had extensions.
Oh, yeah.
We would have to say 1610 if that was the extension that came in, or 1620.
Wow.
So, and they had it was in Soho, and they had a loft space in the back that they were going to press cutouts. And as a cover story to order materials, they distributed Israeli folk dance records under the Tikva label, and UNESCO and Baron Reiter ethnographic records.
Okay.
Yeah. So, which was fantastic. We had a basement full of that stuff, and I got an incredible collection of ethnographic records because of that.
What was the next step?
Well, then Carla Bley, who was a jazz composer, really liked writing for big bands, and she couldn't afford to hire a big band, so she put together a thing called the Jazz Composers Orchestra Association of all these jazz musicians in New York. Pharoah Sanders, Cecil Taylor, Don Cherry, Clifford Thornton, and Gato Barbieri, a lot of different musicians who would play each other's compositions. And she started making these records with big bands for JCOA and realized there was nowhere to distribute them. So she started a distributor called New Music Distribution, NMDS.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I was there. I shopped there.
You did? That was pretty great.
Yeah.
And we used to encourage people to you could make your own record. People didn't know you could make your own record. It was kind of mystery how a record was made. And we helped people make their own records. And we had 10,000 different records from all independent labels back in the day when people didn't know what an independent label really
So it
was.
was really like new music
And it was all avant-garde.
distribution.
That's right.
service.
That's right. We had it was avant-garde rock. We had Sonic Youth. We had Phil Glass's
right.
own label on
Right.
Chatham Square.
Right.
You know, we had John Zorn on Parachute. We had all, you know, artist-produced records. CRI rather, which was avant-garde classical music.
Yeah, no, I remember that place.
You ever use a cello equalizer?
A cello, yeah.
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 It's an incredible
The
piece
Mark
of equipment.
Levinson.
Yeah. So I used to go to a studio and I would pre-master my records with a cello equalizer.
Wow.
The studio only had a cello equalizer and a board. That was all it had in it.
Wow.
And it was the most amazing experience. It was so great. And then the guy had a cattle farm. His family owned a cattle farm in Florida. Moved there, and I've never been able to get to use a cello equalizer again. And I talked to.
I can hook you up.
You can, yeah.
Neat.
I mean, so I talked to Mark Levinson when he was running cello. I said, "Hey, can we borrow an equalizer for some records I'm working on?" He says, "Why don't you come by? We'll talk about it." I go, "Okay." I go in this kind of upstairs office room.
Upstairs, yeah.
And he's got this lucite cello equalizer on a stand, so you could see how beautiful all the wiring was. Yeah. And he kind of does this with his hands, and then he, you know, moves around the knobs and stuff like that. And he says, "Isn't that great?" I go, "Yeah, can we borrow it?" He says, "Well, it's only $25,000. You should probably buy one."
Yeah, yeah.
Which I didn't.
No.
But I was going to go back. The beginning of that, it's kind of one of the stories. Or into an interstitial bit is the first record I ever produced was an electronic new music record by a composer named Daniel Lentz. It was all synthesizers. And we recorded it in Santa Barbara Sound, which was a studio the Beach Boys used. He even had a little sandbox.
Wow.
You know,
And what was the name of the record?
On the Leopard Altar. And the engineer there knew Daniel, and it was electronic minimalism music, and knew how to get the correct sounds. But I didn't like it was a very soft sounding record to me, and I wanted it to be more heightened. So I took it to Village Recorders in LA to mix. The guy there had no clue how to mix this music, was way away from anything he's ever worked with before. He had just done a Barbra Streisand record. You know, they had, at Village Recorders, Fleetwood Mac had built a room to mix Tuscan or something like that. Right. Record Tuscan. It was this giant living room, you know, and something. Anyway, I liked the sounds he was getting, but I hated the way he mixed it. So I took the tapes back to Santa Barbara Sound to mix with the original engineer. He said, "Oh, that's what you want." And he put the whole record in the headphone bus, which was not as high quality section of the board as the main section of the board. Basically, it added 24 channels of distortion. I mean, subtle distortion, but it made the sound more exciting. It's about making it sound the way you want it to sound.
Yeah, Louie is a great sounding record.
Yeah.
For its distortion. You know those stories about Link Wray, right? That the accidental way he got into distortion, you know, his amplifier was screwing up and the tubes or something. And he's playing and the audience is digging it. It's like, no, well, it's bad, it's wrong. No, the audience loves it. He's like, oh, this is good. Okay, we'll do more distortion. Well, it's a journey.
Yeah. That's same with the audio equipment. It's a journey. I mean, I heard, so when you came to the office, you saw we have a Thorns 135. And I had always read the reviews of you know, whatever turntable and cartridge. No, this is the one. Oh my God. And I would, you know, every few years I would get a new turntable, or every 10 years or something like that. And they would always sound pretty much like the turntable I already had. I didn't really notice that big a difference. But I saw people talking about Thorns, you know, 123s as something special.
124, I think.
124s rather, something special. So I saw that a 135 was like a lesser, cheaper version of that. Right. And I bought it, and I remember hooking it up because my other turntable, which was a belt drive, you know, Rega, had worn out. And I put on a Bohannon record, and Eric, who I worked with at the time, and we both go, wow. And realized, idler wheel turntables, that is my life. That's the first time I'd ever heard something like that the sound was so radically different, so much bigger. The low end was so much richer. And so I started really being interested in older equipment and the sound of older equipment. And I think it's like a perfect thing to complement, you know, digital recordings. and the digital world we're in.
To use vintage speakers and electronics to play contemporary music.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I like that. Well, that's kind of like the Devon thing, Devon Turnbull's thing, right? But no, speaking of vintage, the Technics SL1200 is 50 years old. That counts as vintage.
It does.
But you never had a Technics direct drive?
No. I have a Pioneer one because the PL1000. Because the Georgia Audiophile Society compared that to a bunch of other turntables, and they said that really is the most incredible sounding turntable for the money. So I bought one.
And
I still like an idler wheel turntable better.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. It has a sound.
Yeah.
So do you have a plan, like a 10-year plan, where you're going to be in 10 years with?
No, I've never had that.
Oh, not at all. It's one
not
record,
even,
one record at a time.
I mean, just look back in 10 years, and can you imagine how different things are now? Do you know what I mean? They're hugely different. The beauty of the record industry, I've been doing this for 30 years, just for Lawakabop. It's like you don't get bored because it keeps changing. Every time we put out a record, something's different. It's always different. I remember, we did vinyl, then we did CDs, and then, each step, the vinyl world was kind of dying, and then CDs came in and reinvigorated everything, and then CDs started dying, and then Apple comes in with iTunes, and the beauty of iTunes was you get paid every month. It used to be the stores, sometimes they paid you, sometimes they didn't. Well, iTunes, every month you'd get a check, I kept a lot of people alive, certainly kept us alive during that initial period,
I never put it together like that, but sure. Yeah.
And the beauty of streaming is, again, you put out a record, you sell the record. Then the record gets older and you sell less. You put out another record, you sell the record. Then the record gets older and you sell less. Streaming is just steady.
Interesting.
So it allows a record label to do a lot of different kinds of things because there's a steady income base as long as they put out enough records and they stream at some level.
Yeah. So in terms of the profitability of a label like Lawakabop, that it's not like it's making a lot less money than it did 10, 20 years ago?
It's actually in better shape.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Weirdly as that is. I mean, we sell records all over the world, but you couldn't always get paid. We sold like 10,000 of this one artist in Mexico. I never got paid for that. Couldn't get the money out of Mexico. But then with streaming, you get paid for all the countries in the world that are streaming your records. So, Brazil and Mexico are some of our biggest territories for streaming music. Before that, it would be very hard to get money out of them. And you get bootleg. People would bootleg the hell out of all your stuff. And that isn't the problem with streaming. So vinyl is great, but streaming is great too. I mean, I got the thread through the whole thing is it's not about the equipment, it's about the music. Really, for me.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks for clarifying.
Because, how many new pieces of audio equipment can keep coming along and being better?
That's a really good question. But you know what they can be is they can be different. And that's the thing.
That's what I say. I don't compare equipment anymore. I don't believe in comparing equipment. And when my friends go, well, does it sound better? No. Everything is good. We're listening at the level now that everything we're listening to is good. So it's just about what it is that you're responding to on an emotional level at any one time. Everything is good. So the new equipment is good for you because you get to rehear all your records in a new way.
Right.
But it's not that it's better than what you had before or worse or anything like that. It just gives you a new perspective on all the records that you really enjoy. You can hear them again, and you can hear them and hear different things in them. And that's incredibly fun.
Yes, that's how I make my living.
Yeah. So there you go. Have I saved it for you?
We have an ending now. This is good. My guest today, Yale from Lawakabop. Thank you so much. This is a lot of fun.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me. Take care.